Well, I didn't realize this was going to happen, but SmackDown has rickrolled Aaron Torres. Yeah. Way to go, SmackDown. He's one of our best guests. He's one of our most loyal guests. He's been on with us for 2.5 years, and you just rickrolled Aaron Torres.
No, I don't know. AT, don't listen to him, AT. Don't listen to him.
What does
you all right with never going to let you?
I don't know.
Never going to let you down, AT?
Of course, yeah. No, it's a good song. It's a good jam.
Thank you.
Makes me want to go to like a disco and do drugs that I've never done before, but other than that, sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Sure, you've never.
No, I really have. Not my thing. I'm known to have a vodka soda or two before bed every night, but those other chemicals not my thing, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. But
cutting a rug is another story, though, man. I'll bet once the pandemic's over, watch out. The nightclubs in Los Angeles, you're going to have yourself a time.
No, I think I'll actually. Unfortunately, I'll probably be drinking less. Unless I'm just sitting home, just trying to pass the time till I can go out and do something. So I'm hoping that I can get back to some games soon and all the normal stuff that we all do. But yeah, vodka soda's been going down heavy the last couple months, fellas. But it's okay though. It's okay.
Not just like everybody else. Now it's all about losing weight, and so you're not allowed to sit on the couch and watch a whole bunch of college basketball tomorrow. But something tells me you're going to do that anyway. Yeah. No, the next few months are not peak physical time for me as far as getting in the most workouts and all that stuff for sure. April. Diet starts in April. Most people have a New Year's resolution. I have like a mid-April resolution. Post-basketball resolution, that's right. Correct. All right, so we got a big Saturday of SEC basketball. It's a pretty important game for Arkansas. They go to Alabama. You see Alabama's beating SEC teams by an average of 13 points, and they're doing it really by defending the three, by stroking the three. I wonder, though, what you think. So much, I think, of our thoughts on this game have to do with the availability of Javon Quinterly and Herbert Jones. But I still think that Alabama's dangerous without them. I mean, you get guys like Shackelford and John Petty Jr. I mean, Penny scored 23 to help them beat Kentucky. Do you think Alabama's just as dangerous, or with a couple of their dudes down, does this open the gate for the Razorbacks a bit on the road? It does, yeah, it does. Doesn't mean I'm coming on and guaranteeing a win, but even the team that walked into Rupp Arena the other night is not the same team that's going to be walking into Coleman Coliseum to face the Hogs tomorrow. You know, Herbert Jones, for people who don't know, really good player. He's versatile. He can kind of at 6'8", 6'9", handle the ball. He can defend all sorts of different players. He is a guy that, I think Alabama fans think he's maybe their most important player, even though if you look at the statistical box score, he doesn't do, he isn't always necessarily statistically their best player. But, I think when I look at this game, that this is not the same Alabama team, like I said, but I think you bring up the point, Phil. They're still really dangerous. They can still shoot the three. And I think the thing that Kentucky underestimated was every guy on the floor can shoot the three. And so for Arkansas, perimeter defense has not been one of their strong suits, even when they were having success earlier this year. It is going to be a key and an X factor tomorrow. And if they can handle it, I think they'll be fine. But if they can't, it'll get ugly like it got for Kentucky the other night. I think one thing that's become apparent about Arkansas right now is that we expected some consistency because you had all of these experienced players that came from other places that could theoretically stabilize a team if they start to fall a bit. But, I mean, Note has been a yo-yo. Desi Sills has been a yo-yo throughout his career, hot and cold. Same with Jalen Tate. Vance Jackson has had a disappearing act and had a couple of games where he's been really good. I think what's apparent right now is the kids have to sort of take over. I mean, right now you need Moses Moody. You need Devontae Davis. I think Jalen Williams has to come up big. Yeah, Phil, and it's frankly a lot of the same problems that Kentucky is having on maybe a different scale. Kentucky's 4-7 right now, but Kentucky also challenged themselves in the out-of-conference in a way that Arkansas didn't, and I understand why Arkansas didn't play the schedule that they were expected to. There was obviously game cancellations and things of that nature. But, I bring it up because I think, and I'm not trying to take this away from Arkansas, but I think when we looked at Kentucky, we said, well,
another number one recruiting class plus some key grad transfers, so you have that experience. And experience comes in all shapes and sizes, but an important part of experience, at least in college basketball, is experience within the context of the program that you're in, and that was Kentucky's biggest factor. And I think it's a big thing with Arkansas is, you know, it's easy when you're beating Central Arkansas and Abilene Christian, you're taking care of business. But when adversity hits, you know, who is the guy rallying everybody? Who is the guy pulling people together? Who is the guy saying, we got this, we're going to be fine? Because even though a guy's maybe been in college for 4 or 5 years, it doesn't mean that he's comfortable necessarily taking that role at Arkansas, or that he's ever been asked to take that role anywhere, or that he knows what Coach Muss is thinking or anything like that. And so, again, I think it's something that, again, I've hammered home this point on Kentucky all season long, but I think it's applicable to Arkansas too. Less practices, less exhibitions, no exhibitions, frankly, an irregular schedule where maybe if the normal schedule happens, they lose to Louisville and Vegas and all of a sudden realize, hey, we're not as good as we are, and that process starts earlier rather than in the middle of SEC play. I wasn't able to watch the LSU game closely, but it did feel like just about everything that could go wrong did. But I think you're right, Phil. I think just because you have a bunch of older players doesn't mean that they necessarily have experience within the program or experience in dealing with adversity or experience in any of the things that are needed to kind of bounce back from a loss like the Hogs took on Wednesday night.
Aaron Torres joining us here on Halftime. AT, we'd love to give a shout-out to your podcast. It's incredible stuff. And I wanted to bring up, kind of go more, look on a more national scale, because you touched on this on your most recent podcast, if I could talk. Gonzaga, they've been dominating the competition all year so far, 12-0 so far. They're ranked number one in both the AP and the coaches' polls. And you mentioned on your podcast that, I mean, the run that they're on is just even more impressive than I think a lot of us give them credit for. But how good is this Gonzaga team for Arkansas fans that may not be aware just of how good they are?
Well, right now it feels like it's really the only kind of quote-unquote national story that's resonating in college basketball. And, you know, Kentucky's down, Duke is down, North Carolina's down, Michigan State is down, Kansas doesn't have any superstars. You know, Oklahoma State has Cade Cunningham, but they're not kind of must-watch TV. And it feels like Gonzaga's really the only story that people are monitoring. I mean, as far as how good they are, listen, they beat the ACC preseason champ by like 30 points. That was Virginia, or preseason favorite, I should say. They beat the Big Ten favorite, Iowa, by 11. You know, they took care of West Virginia, took care of Kansas. And so I think people realize how good they are. I think the biggest thing right now is going to be complacency. You know, they played late last night. I think it was a 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off, and you know, you could kind of just tell they felt like, okay, we can just flip a switch whenever we want, and they buried Pepperdine late, but I think it was about a 4 or 5 point game at halftime. And so I bring that up because, you know, they're going to be beating a lot of teams in WCC play by a lot of points going forward, and how do you keep that edge? How do you keep that focus? And it's interesting, Matt, because you bring up my most recent podcast. I did have Sean Farnham from ESPN on, and Sean kind of dropped an interesting nugget that I had kind of heard, but it was interesting for him to say it publicly, which is that, you know, last week Gonzaga's schedule got kind of flipped. They played BYU because one of their opponents had COVID, et cetera. But that may open up the slate later in the season for Gonzaga to play a Power 5 team, you know, late January, early February. I think that'd be really good for both Gonzaga and college basketball to have a marquee opponent. And when I say really, you know, Power 5 team, it's looking like they're trying to get either Baylor on the schedule, which is ranked number 2 in the country right now, or Tennessee, which is ranked in the top 10, 2 teams that they were supposed to play but had games canceled because of COVID. So Sean mentioned that he thinks that is absolutely in play. He just called their game last weekend, so he should know. And I think that'd be great for college basketball because I do think, I get it, it's a regional sport. You focus on your own team. It's hard to find quote-unquote national storylines. They're it, but I think it would be good for Gonzaga, and I think it would be good for the sport if they could get in a game against, say, Tennessee or Baylor at some point in January or February.
Want to get your thoughts also before I pass it back over to Phil on arguably the biggest college football, or not college football news, I guess, the college football legend heading to the NFL. That's Urban Meyer heading to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hasn't been coaching since 2018. How do you think he'll translate? How do you think his style, his coaching acumen and everything about it. How do you think he'll translate to the NFL and to the Jaguars?
I think he'll be good. And I think the thing with Urban Meyer is he didn't just want to go to the NFL. This opportunity was presented to him, and he basically has an almost perfect scenario where you get the number one pick with somebody that we all believe is going to be a generational quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and then on top of that, you have a bunch of draft picks and all that kind of stuff. And so, to me, that's the big thing is he just wasn't looking to go to the NFL. Like, he wasn't going to take the Falcons job or the Lions job or the Texans job where no one knows what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. He was going to wait for a darn near perfect opportunity, and I think that's exactly what this is. Now, what does it mean in the big picture for the Jags? I don't know. But I do know, he's probably not going to be around for a long time. He's 56 years old, maybe 57, and he has a track record. 4, 5, 6 years, goes full speed ahead and burns himself out. And so I think if you're a Jags fan, you jump full speed ahead with Trevor Lawrence. You know that this probably isn't a 15-year relationship. Most aren't in the NFL in this day and age, and you enjoy it for what it's worth. I think he'll be really good in the short term. Well, it's the old saying, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I think that's Urban Meyer in Jacksonville.
It sounds like you think that's a better fit than, say, different sport, but John Beilein to the Cavs, which was about as bad of a disaster as you could have asked for.
Yeah, I mean that was a terrible decision. But John Beilein was such a unique guy, and who knows if he'll get back into college basketball because he's 67, 68, somewhere in that range. But, I think he was a guy, he literally started as a high school coach, went from high school to JUCO to low major to mid-major to high major. And there was, one step left on that ladder, and I think he wanted to challenge himself. And, I think in theory he thought it was the right job, but obviously that's a little bit of a dysfunctional organization. He lasted whatever it was, half a season, if that. I think it'll go well. The thing with Urban Meyer, I think as his career has evolved, I think he's done a really good job of being less of a football coach and more, what he does so well is leadership and structure building and things like that, where you get to the end of his time at Ohio State, he hired Ryan Day and handed over the offense and said, you do your thing. He didn't have as much success on the defense, but, he gave Greg Schiano total control. But the point being is I think he's going to hire smart people. I think he leans on smart people. And like I said, I think he'll have success. I mean, does that mean multiple Super Bowl championships? Probably not, because I don't think anybody other than Patrick Mahomes is going to do that over the next 7 or 8 years. But, could they make a few deep playoff runs? I could absolutely see it, Phil.
Last thing here. I just wanted to get into this quickly if you can. Sharif Cooper, instant impact on Auburn in 2 games cannot be understated, can it?
No, he's been awesome. And, first of all, good on Arkansas for beating them without him. But, they put up like 87 points against Arkansas without him, and you wonder if that game would have been different. But maybe it works out well for Arkansas where Auburn goes on a little run here, finishes, middle to the top half of the SEC, and all of a sudden that win's a better win as you start looking at NCAA tournament resumes. He's been awesome. He was a top-ranked recruit that it took them a while to get him eligible. But he's playing, and he's playing at a real high level. I'll tell you this, obviously I know we talked a lot about the Arkansas-Alabama game, but Kentucky at Auburn, I mean, Kentucky, I know they're always a topic in SEC country, and I know a lot of people are enjoying this run. If they can't win that game against Auburn tomorrow with Sharif Cooper, you start kind of piecing together, doing the math. They'd be 4-8. And it's really hard to really envision them making the NCAA tournament with what's ahead on the schedule. So that's kind of something to watch out for as an Arkansas fan if you're looking for other storylines on Saturday. If Kentucky loses at Auburn to fall to 4-8 with 2 games left against Tennessee, another one against Alabama, another one against a game against Arkansas, LSU, you start to figure it starts to get really tough to see the scenario where Kentucky makes the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. All right, AT, appreciate you, man. We got to run. Thank you.
All right, fellas, take care.
Aaron Torres, host of the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. Also hear him on Fox Sports Radio. and joins us every Friday right about now. SmackDown, I always love when you do the reads for Joe's Grill for Taco Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we could get Joe's to start something for like a Flauta Friday. What do you think?
That'd be fine. I've got connections in there after the Joe's Grill, after the chaos of the cantina. Make sure you head over there tomorrow, though. It is the Sippin' Saturday brunch menu. You hear me talk about it all the time. Go over there, get you a breakfast burrito, and get you a margarita mimosa. You can thank me later. They've got all kinds of great options, though, for you if you're not into that. They've got lots of great taco options, burrito options over there at Joe's Grill and Cantina at 3400 South 74th Street in Fort Smith across from Harps. Give them a call at 479-478-9600. That is Joe's Grill and Cantina.
All right, wrap the first hour of halftime up right after this, so don't go anywhere.